I'm Lance with Brando Consulting, inventory software expert since 2006. In this video, I'm going to show you how to import products from QuickBooks Desktop into Cin7 online inventory tracking software. So first of all, we're here at Cin7. We'll go to Products, and under Actions, we'll see there's an Import and Update Products link right there. So the product screen, Actions, click on that link. And then we'll see we've got this section down here that says Import from File Upload. That's the one we're going to use. And then it's always great to check out the latest and greatest update of the help articles. Don't pass this little link by here. Click on that link and there's a lot of great useful information on the help file. Then let's take a look at what we're trying to get from QuickBooks. Over here is our QuickBooks item list, and on the item list we're going to go to the Excel button on the bottom and click, let's make sure you can see this, click Export All Items. We just want to get this out onto a spreadsheet. So we've got these items in a spreadsheet, and notice in the Items section we have a different format than Cin7 is going to want. Looks like we've got bath vanity fixtures, and then notice there's the part category, then a colon, then the actual item code. You call this SKU, product number. That's really what we want, is that item code. So we're going to use the text to columns feature in Excel to separate this and get the item codes that we need. Under Data in Excel, you'll find Text to Columns. Separate the delimiter with a colon, or should I say delineate with a colon. That gets our data separated there. And then we'll pull the other parts over that don't have a category and a part. We'll need to go through these parts because some of them may have categories, and delete the categories that are standing alone and are not associated with anything. Also, we want to delete the parts that don't have anything to do with inventory, that are strictly accounting related items that only QuickBooks uses. Okay, so what you should end up with after doing this is in column D, you'll now have the product category, and in column E, you'll have the SKU or product, whatever you want to call it. Now, in QuickBooks, the inventory type part translates into Cin7 as a FIFO type part. Take a look at the Cin7 help file to understand this a little bit further. If we go to the product screen in Cin7, we'll see a field called Stock Control with 4 different options: FIFO, Batch, Serial, and non-stock. FIFO is your standard inventory type part. Non-stock is something like freight or a service type item. Batch is a type of part that is tracked by lot number or batch number, and serial is a part that's tracked by serial number. So we're going to use FIFO as the stock control, which translates into the QuickBooks part type, inventory type part. Unless, of course, you want to track it with lot if you're in perishable food items industry or the supplements industry. And then you may want to track it by serial number if you're in the electronics industry. So that's up to you. So I changed all the inventory type parts to FIFO, and I'll change everything that's not an inventory type part to a blank filled. So when this is imported, Cin7 wants a blank filled. It doesn't want it to say non-stock. It just wants non-stock to be left blank. Okay, so we have our product category separated from the SKU. We've got our description and our purchase description. So let's go back to Cin7 to this portion that says Import from File Upload. Then we'll choose the file. And I almost forgot, before we choose the file, we have to save the file, and we need to save the file in CSV format. So I've name the file Wholesale Distribution Products from QuickBooks in CSV format. Click Save. And I'll save that to my desktop. Notice down here as it comes out of QuickBooks, there's two tabs. I'm going to get rid of this tab. This is the only tab I want. So now back here on Cin7, under Import from File Upload, I click Choose File. Go to my desktop to choose the file, Wholesale Distribution Products from QuickBooks. And then over here to the right on the Cin7 screen, click the Next Step button. That'll bring us to this screen. On this screen we have two columns, Excel header row, sample data, and these are both informational from the spreadsheet that we're trying to import. Then we have the Cin7 field. That's the field we're trying to import it to. If Cin7 figured something out, it tries to guess what we want to import it to. So you'll see that some of these are filled out, some of these fields are not filled out. Not all of these fields are required. It's okay if some of them are blank. But probably the most important thing from this video, if you don't get anything else from this video, you get this one thing, and that's what fields are required. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to go back to the product screen. Back on the product screen, there is an asterisk here next to product name. And there's also a stock control field that is pink. And down below, we have another pink field called the code and also the retail price. On the product list screen, we see that there's a code and there's a name. Now what's really interesting is notice the name is more of a description and then the code is the abbreviation. So if we look at our spreadsheet, we see that our SKU is really our code. So let's just put code there, and then our description is really our name. So let's just make note of that. Code and name. And then this type field, Cin7 calls it stock control. Now that we've made those changes, I'm going to save this file and have Cin7 reach out and grab that file again and see what it guesses this time. Wholesale Distribution Products from QuickBooks. Okay, I'm grabbing the file again, coming way over here to the right hand side, clicking this Next Step button. That brings us back to this screen. And now notice says stock control FIFO, and Cin7 automatically filled that in. It knows what it is. I called that code, and now Cin7 automatically sees that and knows what that is. It's actually the product options code. I got this wrong when I first learned how to do this. I thought that the code would go underneath one of these products. But if you scroll all the way down under product options, that's actually where the code is, under product options code. Then we've got name, and Cin7 figures this out, product name. So those are the three fields that are required: the stock control, the name, and the item code. Then down here, it wants to know what accounts. Product alternative sales account. That's revenue, so that's correct. Product alternative purchase account. That's the asset account. Products description. Preferred vendor, product supplier. So Cin7 is already figuring out what you need. Manufacturing product number is what MPN stands for, and Cin7 has a field for that. The rest of these fields that have to do with quantity and unit of measure, those go in on a different import. Excuse me, the quantity goes in on a different import. The unit of measure should go in on this import. So we're going to grab the field that the unit of measure applies to. Just to double check which unit of measure this is talking about, I'm going to go back to the QuickBooks spreadsheet. Take a look at this unit of measure field. Now there's generally multiple units of measure. A unit of measure you use when you're talking to the vendor. The unit of measure you use when you're doing a stock take or a physical count. Then the unit of measure you use when you're selling it to the customer and communicating with the customer. So the first unit of measure applies to the price the vendor is charging you. The second unit of measure applies to the value of the stock in inventory. And the third unit of measure applies to the price that you're charging the customer. So unit of measure is always tied to some sort of value, cost, value, or price. So we want to make sure that this unit of measure is right. In this case, with this example, it's really simple. Everything's each. So notice it says unit of measure cost USA, cost Canada, cost Australia, and unit of measure price, price, price. I'm going to select unit of measure cost, and then under cost field, we'll select the cost. Cost US dollars. And then down here we have price, so let's select the price that we charge the customer. The file that we are connecting to is the wholesale distribution products from QuickBooks. So this file is selling to other companies, not other people, so it's a wholesale price. Now down here there's something interesting. It says the warehouse that it's going to. In Cin7 that translates into the branch, but the product doesn't have a default branch. So everything that applies to quantity, like the warehouse, the shelf, the quantity, that's going in on a separate import. Okay, so we're going to click the next step button and see what error messages we get. Don't get discouraged when you get error messages. It's part of the process. So what does it say? Size, or size, alt unit measure option 1 is required field when you have mapped a size or unit of measure field. Okay, let's look at that. Looks like we may have selected the wrong unit of measure field. Yep, so it's saying we selected the size unit of measure, but we don't have a product option for size. And for this file and its part list, size is irrelevant. Cin7 works really well with apparel, but the example file I chose is not clothing and apparel. So this time we're going to scroll to product options and select sales unit of measure. Then we'll click next again over here on the right hand side. Next step. And this time it advances us further. Now there's three options: group by name, group by group by style code. This works well with the apparel industry. And then group by code. Now what's interesting is the language here. Group by code really means there's no grouping per se. Now back on the spreadsheet we do have categories. As you recall, we've got a product category. And back here it saw product category and actually ignored it. So let's fix that. Select product category. So there's a difference between product category and product group. We'll click next and go back to the other screen. And if we select group by code, it will put the code in the proper field. So we'll click next step. And here we are. It's going to create 48 new products. One of the products were already in there. Recognize that. So then we'll click next. It's creating or matching new suppliers. That's a great feature. We don't have to create the suppliers in there already. It will create the suppliers as we import this. And even create the alternative accounts. That makes it really easy. So there we go. I click the next and we're ready to import. We can either test the import or import new products. Let's import it. We've got 48 new products in there. And it's telling us it created new categories. There's a button down here that says Insert New Categories. We'll click that. Categories created. Categories assigned. Awesome. It's doing what we want it to do. It's working great. So we're going to click Finish and go back to Products to see the results. Here's all of our new products that we have in there with the product name. We'll click on it, go to the screen to check our work. Has the supplier, the style code, stock control name, the product name, manufacturing part number, everything's where we want it to be. And it's assigned to the category. Here's a category called chandeliers. Let's test it. Always test it. See, the product categories are up here. Here's chandeliers. So we'll click on the product categories and it narrows down the list to show us all the chandeliers. Thank you for watching today's tutorial. Hopefully this was helpful for you with importing new products into Cin7 inventory software program.